eBay friends. This is episode number 135 of eBay the Right Way. Today's date is October 18th, 2023, and my guest is Julie in Wisconsin. One quick announcement, a big thank you for all the prayers and kind words for my sister Trina and brother-in-law Jeff and their tough situation. I really appreciate all of you who reached out, your kindness and concern. And some good things happened for her and Jeff last week, so keep those prayers coming. Okay, and let's get into the chat with Julie.
Welcome back, listeners. I have another Julie. I think you're the third Julie.
Yay for Julie's.
Julie in Montana that knows all about postcards. We had Julie, I think in Minnesota a few weeks ago, who knew all about crafts and fabric. And so now we have yet another Julie who we're going to find out what you know about.
Yeah, hopefully.
And where are you located?
I am in a suburb of Milwaukee. I'm in Sussex, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you call yourself? A Wisconsinite?
Yeah, I think that's right. Wisconsinite.
Okay. Because who was it from Michigan said they're called Michiganders?
Michiganders, yes. In fact, we lived for the last 7 years. We just moved back to Wisconsin in June of this year. We had lived in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan for 7 years, which was beautiful. I loved living there. And yes, Michiganders. That's what we would call ourselves.
That is on my bucket list. I want to go to the Grand Hotel.
Yes,
and,
I've been there. It's great.
See it, and it's so beautiful there. And what's the island it's on?
Mackinac Island.
Okay, right. And there's no cars. There's only
Right.
bicycles and horses, and it's just like you step back in time. And so, yeah, that's on my list.
Oh, yes.
So you're back in Michigan, and we are recording in late September. So you're getting ready for the snow and the ice and the cold and all that.
Right. But we actually now we're back in Wisconsin. So we're going to have less. That's all right. We will have less snow. My husband will be doing much less snow removal. He's very happy about that.
Okay. Well, send a little bit our way to South Carolina. We did not get one flake last year.
Wow.
And sometimes we'll get slammed with a storm and in the South, and we get 4 or 5 inches. And everybody goes crazy because nobody knows what to do. And then sometimes there's nothing and we're all sad. It's like we didn't even get to see it for one day.
Yeah.
So
it's a bummer.
We'll see what happens. Okay. So enough about the weather. Now we know where you are. So let's jump in with when and how did you get started with eBay?
Okay. So probably in 2013, I met a lady who she and her husband, they do a lot of selling on eBay. And she kind of just gave me the rundown, told me all about it, told me how they would do house clean outs for people and sell the things. This was at the time when Hostess, the maker of Twinkies, was going out of business and
yes.
Yeah.
I think that was 2010, 2011.
Oh, maybe it was. I could be wrong.
Because I remember when that happened, resellers just went everywhere and cleaned out the shelves of every store that had Hostess stuff to flip them online. And then that was very short-lived because they came back under new brand names. So you got to be careful about that retail arbitrage because people were stuck with like 1,000 boxes of Twinkies.
Oh, wow. That's bad. Except for they're never going to spoil. That's what you hear about Twinkies.
They're like nuclear proof. You can, doomsday preppers can just stock them up and have their Twinkies later.
Right.
Sorry to interject that, but I do remember that. It was called the Twinkie Frenzy.
The Twinkie Frenzy. So this lady was kind of telling me about the Twinkie thing and how resellers could, get them and then sell them to people who wanted them for more money. So that kind of piqued my interest. I did not start selling right away, although I had bought things on eBay at that time. But in 2014 is when I considered becoming a seller. And so I started out slow and I got interested in it. And my husband said, Julie, I'm going to give you, I'm going to give you $300 just startup money for you to go buy some inventory at the thrift stores to get a good start. And so he does remind me of that every once in a while about the startup money he gave me and how he helped me get my start. But that's how I got into it. And actually, at that time, we lived in Nashville, Tennessee. My husband was a pastor there. He was also a pastor in the Upper Peninsula. But so we lived in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was doing some online research on how to become a better eBay seller. And who do I find? This lady named Suzanne Wells. And so and so I would, whatever you had going back in 2014, I would watch. I don't know, were you on YouTube then?
I started my YouTube channel in 2007.
Okay.
And because that's what people were doing. And then I kind of didn't do it for a while. And then I came back. But in 2014, I was just getting out of Amazon.
Okay.
Yes.
So anyway,
to eBay because I was like that. The money is in the unique and vintage. And I was just tired of playing that FBA game. Trying to stay ahead of the curve and figure it out. As soon as you figure something out, so does everybody else. And the price crashes. And it was just very disappointing because it did work for a long time for me. And I know it works for people now, but I just prefer the whole vintage, unusual things that there's just not a lot of competition on.
I completely agree with you. So anyway, that's how I got into it. And I started small, and then just the sales just spurred me to keep going and keep learning. And since then, I really have never said I quit. I just like it so much that I just keep going. You just keep riding the up and down waves and just hold on for the long haul. And just keep researching, learning from other sellers. Your podcast is a great resource for that. I want you to know that this year in February, my husband sells some too, that for his birthday, I bought him your BOLO book.
Great.
Okay. He loves the big colored pictures.
Yes.
And just, you spell it out. It's kind of like, this is what I look for.
Yeah. And it was designed for Gen X and baby boomers who like a book, and we don't have to go find our reading glasses.
Yes. Well, my husband and I are both at the tail end of the baby boom generation. So you need to see things big. So your book is great for that.
Yeah. And it changed. Your vision changes so quickly. It's like, oh gosh, now I got to go back to the dollar store and get the next level up of reading glasses because these, 1.75s are not working anymore. Yes. Got to go up to the 2s.
Yes. So that's how I got my start. And so that's what, over 9 years. And I love it. I do. I don't love absolutely everything about it, but most of the stuff I really do love. And it just allows me great flexibility. Like if I need to go help my mom, or if I need to go visit children or grandchildren, I can just either put my eBay store on vacation or do extended handling time, and I can still be making money. So, yes, I really do enjoy it.
For the listeners, a lot of listeners are in the same situation. You just lost your dad after a long illness. And so I feel like eBay is great for caregivers or people who assist caregivers, because you can just, I got to run out of town. I got to go do this for the day. And you can just pause everything and then come back to it when life settles down.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
that's how I got into it.
Okay. So I would say you're a pretty seasoned seller since you've been in it for 9 years now. So let's talk about some things you've sold.
Sure.
And what you specialize in, kind of get a feel for who you are. And one more thing before we start that is, are you and your husband both retired?
No. Well, I had been a piano teacher for many years.
Okay.
But now that we have moved to Southern Wisconsin, I'm no longer teaching lessons because I want the flexibility to go be with my mom
Okay.
more.
Right.
And I have in the area, our son, our youngest child lives here and he has a newborn baby. And of course, Nana needs to be able to babysit.
Of
So,
course.
so I did retire from piano teaching. My husband is not in full-time ministry right now. He is doing some part-time work as well. So we're not really retired. I don't know if I ever will like retire. I don't want to just lay around and do nothing. I'd be bored, you know?
I know. I want to be like Martha Stewart. She's in her 80s and she's still
Yeah, she
going.
looks great. Yeah.
Or like Betty White. She never stopped. She
Yeah.
still kept acting and doing things. And maybe where we are, our generation is just like retirement is going to look so different.
I agree.
I don't want to say retirement. I want to say our later years are going to look so different because we have so many more options and we don't want to just sit around and do nothing.
Exactly.
You know, and I don't think that's good for you.
No, I agree.
To not be engaged and be around people and be thinking and using your brain and all that stuff. So
keeps our brain young. We got to keep our brains young, you know?
I know. I talked to my financial guy the other day and he's like, now, when are you planning to retire? And I'm like, I'm not. Like, I'm teaching people in retirement how to do this business. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Yep.
You know, as long as I can get myself to a thrift store and and who knows, by then we may have like senior Uber that takes you know, discounted price, something like that's going to evolve for us because there's going to be so many baby boomers, Gen Xers that maybe can't drive, but we still want to go places and don't want to impose on people to drive us.
Yes.
So anyway, that's a whole nother.
Agreed.
But
yes. Well, I will tell you about one of my most memorable sales. It actually happened last year. It's memorable for two reasons. First of all, I had gone to an auction and I'm not a fur expert, but I had bought a couple pieces of fur. And I bought a beautiful it could have been mink, I wasn't sure. In fact, in the listing, I wasn't even. Sometimes that's the beauty of eBay, is you can speculate. And people, if they know what they're looking for, they know if it's that kind of fur. So anyway.
I love that when they jump in and say, hey, you got that word wrong, or that's what this is called. I love that.
I do too. So I sold this beautiful vintage fur stole to a famous New York City designer and furrier. And I was like, oh my word, this guy. I knew his name. So I looked him up and then I saw his address. Sometimes I look up people's addresses and I was like, this is the guy. So I go down and I'm going to pack it up and I'm like, where is it? I could not find it in my inventory, but I found another fur scarf and I realized that somebody ordered the fur scarf from me and I sent them the wrong person. I sent that person that ordered the first scarf. No. I sent them the first stole. And I never heard from them like, hey, I got the wrong thing. So I messaged on the eBay messaging system. I messaged this designer and I told him what happened. And he's like, okay. I said, I need to cancel the sale. And he said, let me know. If you get it back from that person, let me know. I said, okay, I will. So then I tell this person, I said, I sent you the wrong item. Could you please send it back to me? Oh, and I heard from them, but it was like delayed. I'd hear from this person and then I wouldn't hear from them for a while. And she took a long time to send it back, but she did send it back eventually.
Oh, dodged a bullet on that.
and I sent her the item she ordered. Took care of all that financially with her. And then I let this designer know, hey, I got it back. He said, I still want it. So I sent it to him and it all turned out great. But you can't make a person send something back if it's your fault. Mm-hmm. So thank the Lord she sent it back. And so that it was just, I like to sell. It's fun when you sell to somebody who is known in their profession. And it was just an exciting sale to sell it to somebody who is a famous furrier in New York City and really knows what he's doing. So that was when I was texting him, I never said, hey, I know who you are. I just treated it like a business professional.
Hey, I just Google stalked you and figured out who you are.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I do. My husband thinks that's funny because he doesn't do that, but I do.
Well, and I hear this over and over again. People will look up like, who is this person, and realize it's someone famous or well known in the industry. And the only famous person I remember selling anything to was way back when I first started. I shipped a golf shirt to Britt Hume.
Oh,
the,
wow.
the news guy. Like,
newscaster,
how
yeah.
many people have that name, right?
Yes.
And it's in just outside of Washington, D.C., because he was the correspondent for one of the major networks in DC and all that. And then another time I shipped Keurig K-cups that I got at Big Lots that were like marked down. They weren't making that flavor anymore, blah, blah, blah. And it went to CBS News break room. And I'm like, I was just a little freaked out. Like, I just found this thing at this little old Big Lots in Georgia, and it's going to these important people to bring us the news. So
yes, you helped them bring us the news.
So I get what you're saying. It's like, it's kind of mind blowing how everything goes full circle. And, here we are, we're doing an important job finding these things and making them available.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
yes.
What was the item, and you paid how much and you sold it for how much?
Okay. Oh boy, it was in a fur lot. So I'm going to say I might have paid, when I average all the things out in that lot, I may have paid $5 or $10 for it. It wasn't a huge sale. It was probably $125. But the thing that made it memorable was my mess up, and that it all turned out okay, and that it was to a designer. That was really special. Yeah.
That is definitely memorable.
Yes.
Good for you.
And another good sale, I would say the best sale I've had. I had 2 ventriloquist dummies, and that someone had given to us.
That you don't hear that every day.
No, someone had given. We used to run. My husband used to be a traveling speaker, a traveling evangelist. So we would do children's things.
Okay.
And somebody donated those ventriloquist dummies to us, and I never used them. I don't know how to do ventriloquism, but anyway, we didn't ever use them. So those ventriloquist dummies sold to somebody for $500. That was probably my highest sale, $500.
And someone just gave them to you?
Yeah, someone had just given them to us, and then
wow,
they went for $500 for some. I stalked this person too. I don't know their name, but they were some kind of voiceover actor person.
Okay.
So that was neat. Another sale that happened, and that was a $300 sale, was I had gone to a citywide garage sale, and this lady had some neat things out, and there was a pair of sunglasses, and I bought them. I must have thought they looked good. And I took them home, and I kind of put them on a shelf and didn't list them. I mean, it could have been months I didn't list them. So then one day I got them out and looked at them, and I had learned somewhere, if you want to see if you have special glasses, to look on the bridge between the lenses.
Yes. Sometimes there's little tiny writing in there.
Yes. So I turned it over and I looked, and it said 10 KGF, 10 karat gold filled. So I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. And so, make a long story short, they were vintage Ray-Ban aviator sunglasses.
Okay.
And and here they'd been sitting on my shelf just waiting to make money, and I had been ignoring them. And I normally don't do auctions. I normally do buy it now with make an offer.
Mm-hmm.
But these I decided to put on an auction. And so they went up to like $300. And I was so happy with that sale. And I'm just glad I decided to look closer and see if they were anything special. Mm-hmm. Sometimes those hallmarks, like, I'm not a jewelry expert. I listen to your jewelry collection people thingy the other day.
Yes, and that was just scratching the surface too.
Yes, it's
They even
such a
said,
market.
yeah,
Oh,
they even said there's so much to know. And so maybe
yeah.
we'll do a round 2 on that, or
Yeah.
3 or whatever, because it is overwhelming.
It
And
is.
sometimes you don't even see the marks on there. You don't know what to look for.
Exactly. Yeah. And another memorable sale I had, I think this item sold for around $150, maybe 125, was a 1944 fold out World War One like news article put out by, it was like a newspaper kind of sort of. The what do you some US military, whatever you call those higher up people. My son was in the military, but you would never know it by the way I'm talking right now.
So
Anyway,
like a what do you call them? Like an
like what was
ambassador?
happening in the war that week.
Right. Okay.
But on
Okay.
the reverse side of the news article was a beautifully drawn pictures of German army uniforms. So I suppose that the soldiers could look, and all the different uniforms, like winter uniforms, all the different ways a German soldier could look. And it was a large poster. And I sold that to the National World War II Museum in New Orleans. That was so exciting to me. Yes. So exciting. Not like $1,000 sale, but a special memory for me that that the item I had went to a museum. And I support our military. I love our military, and it was just a great privilege to tell my son that was in the Army about that.
Well, and I've heard that before, people selling things that go to museums. And I feel like we're going to hear more of that, as time goes on and things get older and more of these treasures are unearthed. As Suzanne Keen says, her mom's house is like an archaeological dig. You never know what you're going to find. And I love that, because that applies to a lot of people. But I feel like more of that's going to be happening as these things appear, as houses are getting cleaned out and all of that. And, that's history. Once it's gone, it's gone. And it does make me sick to think about how much of that stuff has gone to the landfill because people didn't know what to do with it. Like, who would want all this?
Yeah.
And so I just feel like we're going to hear more of that as time goes on. And what an honor to find this thing and then rehome it to a museum where who knows how many people in the future will be able to look at it and enjoy it and get something from it, and it just being trashed.
Yes, exactly. Another sale. It was probably another citywide sale, and I was in somebody's garage just looking on their table, and I saw a John Deere baseball cap. And my grandpa was a farmer and had some John Deere machines. And so I picked it up for $0.25, and I went home and I researched the label. And, because people do change their logos over the years. And
John Deere is famous for that. One of the BOLO books, the evolution of the John Deere logo, because it's like legs up, legs down, one leg up, antlers, no antlers, all of that. And you can figure out how old it is based on what the logo looks like. Although now they're doing modern reproductions of the old ones. So, if it's from Kohl's or Target, it's not going to be the real thing. It's like every major company, McDonald's, Pepsi, Coke, there's a logo evolution. And as collectors know that, but the average Joe on the street doesn't know that.
So I was able to determine that baseball cap was an older one. It was a vintage one by the logo, by the way the deer's legs were. And so I must have put it up for buy it now with make an offer. And this person made me an offer and I accepted it. And then it went and it was unpaid for like 4 days and they didn't pay. So the case closed. Well, that person contacted me and said, "Hey, I just went to pay for that and it wasn't there anymore. So I was able to get it back up, and they did purchase it for that amount. So I still made my money, even though I know we all wish eBay would just, with offers, make the payment happen right away. And I think they're working on that. But in this case, it worked out. They contacted me and said, hey, I went to try to pay and it wasn't there anymore. And so I was able to help them out. And I still made the sale. I think that was around $170 sale for a quarter baseball John Deere cap.
Good for you. I love that. That's like, if you're in rural areas and you feel like, well, I don't have any thrift stores or there's no good estate sales, those farm sales can be a gold mine because
exactly.
I think there's a John Deere keychain out there, a little, the little thing that goes on the keychain, worth over $100. It's just little, or the pens, the writing instruments or whatever. Collectors will pay all kinds of money for that little stuff because they just want all these things in their collection. So,
and it's a good reminder too, to do your research thoroughly. Don't just throw it up, a John Deere hat. That looks good. Research, see if it's special. That's what sets successful eBay sellers apart is, we research, we know, we get an eye for what is special, what is unusual. We're going to have way less competition if we sell special things. And if I hadn't have researched that and just thought, oh, I'll put it up for $10, think of all the money I would have walked away from. So research is very important.
Especially if it's a company that's been around a long time.
That's a good point.
LL Bean. I will say Coca-Cola is just flooded. That market's flooded with junk because they just made everything, living in Atlanta, Coca-Cola and Delta. You just don't know if it's valuable or not because there's so much of it. But of those companies that have a long history and are well known and have a following, that's what's going to happen is there's going to be certain items that are really valuable.
That's true. I also, another farm related item I just thought of was, the silos, farm silos. There's one called Harvester, but it's spelled store at the end, Harvest Store. And I found salt and pepper shakers for, I think, $1.25. And a farmer in Canada bought them for $60. Farmers maybe he just wanted them sitting on the table because maybe he has a couple Harvester silos and he just wants them sitting on the kitchen table. So farm related items are a good sell.
And it's just the nostalgia. I have a few things in my home that I just have because of what it reminds me of. I was a teenager and this is what was going on in my life when that thing was popular. And I remember that. And it's the good feelings of nostalgia and that whole buying back your youth thing. My mom had these and they sat on our kitchen table for the entire time I was growing up. And there's just nothing to compare it to as far as the emotional component of
so
true. I have a friend that I grew up with that we used to play Barbies, and she always had better Barbies and Barbie stuff than me because she was the only girl. There was brother, and then I was one of 3 girls, so our stuff got pretty beat up. My brother would blow up stuff with firecrackers. So that's another story, but I met her for lunch one day a couple of years ago. We've been friends since we were 3 years old. And she brought her Barbie stuff. It was in the trunk of her car. She had the airplane. She had the camper. She had the small things she could put in her car. And I was just salivating. I was like, do you want me to sell those for you? And she's like, no, I'm never selling these.
You were hoping she was going to give them to you.
And I'm like, you're such a tease to show me that and then say you're going to keep it.
Yeah, you guys need to go to the Barbie movie together with your old Barbies.
Oh, is that what people are doing?
I don't know. I just think you should.
Bring your Barbies to see the Barbie movie. I love it. I have not done that. I'm so cheap. I usually wait for things to cycle over to Amazon. But yeah, that's a big thing. And like Barbie core is a word now
Yeah.
with all the pink and the earrings and all this Barbie look and fashion. And it's just crazy. But yeah, back to the whole collectibles thing. And it can be anything. It can be salt and pepper shakers. It can be um, towels in your bathroom. It can be a stuffed animal, whatever it is. And it's just because it sparks that nostalgia.
Yes.
And I think that's what makes some of these things sell for so much is
Oh,
you've got
yeah.
2 or 3 people bidding on those salt and pepper shakers because and then emotion gets out of control and they just keep bidding higher and higher. So, but yeah, that's something I haven't heard of before. Were the salt and pepper shakers in the shape of a silo?
They looked just like a harvester's silo.
Oh,
So
that's
they were
funny.
like blue and tall, and I think there might have been a gray roof on it, and it had like the ladder on it.
Uh-huh.
It had harvester on the side. It looked just like a little miniature silo. Yeah.
That's perfect. And want to ask the person like, okay, why did you buy these? Do you know
Yes.
brand? Are you just doing a retro farmhouse kitchen? Like
Right.
what's happening?
But again, I looked this person's name up,
Okay.
and then I learned that he had been in the news some and that he was a Canadian farmer. So that's how I know he was a farmer.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense. So is that part of your eBay routine is
If
you
I
sell something to look somebody up?
I do it a lot. If I sell something kind of special, then I'm curious as to who bought it. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking, is this somebody, is this like I sold an overnight train case, a vintage one, a little luggage.
Right.
Might have been red and cute to, like a boutique store in New York City or something like that. So I just I'm just curious. I like to know who buys my stuff. So sometimes I research to see if it went somewhere special. I just like to
Mhm.
do that.
Well, I don't go that far where it's going.
Yes.
I'm fascinated with like sports team stuff. Not to the extent of some of the guys in the group, but like hats, baseball
Yeah.
hats. Love selling those because they're so easy. But
Yes.
sold one the other day and it was maybe a Clemson hat and it went to Washington State.
Yeah.
So your fans can be anywhere.
That's the truth.
And so when I find stuff, I do find a lot of Clemson and University of South Carolina, a little bit of University of Georgia, like whatever's around here. But then I'll find something that is from far away and think, oh, maybe they moved here, they were from there, and whatever happened. And but it is interesting to look at something that's very location specific.
Yes.
Like where does it go?
Yes.
So it can go anywhere.
It's true.
Yeah. Okay. You have anything else on your list?
I have a situation once when I went to an auction when we lived in the UP, went to an auction, and I knew that they were going to be eventually getting to this lady's closet of clothing. It was a larger house. She, I think, had been moved into a nursing home. And so her children had employed an auctioneer to auction her belongings. And she had lots of stuff. Well, she also had 2 large closets in her bedroom, 2 large walk-in closets of clothing in her bedroom, plus 2 other smaller closets of clothing. And I knew she had cashmere sweaters in there. So I looked and I was like, I'm just going to wait and see if I can bid on those sweaters. So at the end of the auction, there were maybe 3 of us left. And this was a bigger auction. We went up and we were right there inside the house. And the entire closet of clothing, they bid. Like one lady bid on one closet and I bid on another closet. I think I got the closet. Oh man, did I get it for $25? I don't know. It was hanging things. And so I got oodles of cashmere sweaters, oodles and oodles. Some of them were in good condition. Some of them were not in good condition. You can sell them for crafters.
Absolutely.
So much money. Some of them, there might have been a Ralph Lauren, a higher label of a Ralph Lauren one that sold well. But the interesting thing about that is this. Her son came to me because the auction was pretty much over and said, could we give you the rest of my mom's clothing? We will put it in your car for you.
Gosh.
We will load your car up. And I said, yes. And so I bought that closet, of cashmere sweaters and other things. And so I got that and load my car up. And then I think they helped me load more up. They had to come back the next day and I got the rest of the stuff. And they just wanted a way to get rid of the clothes their mom wasn't going to use anymore.
Mhm.
And I'm going to say it wasn't like it was all designer clothing, but it was nice pieces. That's how I really learned to process clothing, to take measurements, to take pictures, to research clothing. That's what taught me how to sell clothing. It's way more work at the beginning, but when you go to ship a piece of clothing, you're not worried usually that it's going to break when the mail handlers throw it on somebody's porch. That's not going to break. So I probably made, I'm going to say $800 to $1,000 off that clothing, if not more. That was years ago, so I'm not sure what my profit was, but sometimes people they just would like a way to unload things they don't need. And if you're there and you're willing and you're standing in the right place at the right time, you're going to benefit. It's lots of work, but it was worth it. So that's a good memory that I have is
And
that auction.
so many resellers don't want to do clothing. And I completely understand that.
Yes.
I don't think I'll ever stop because I know what to look for.
Yeah.
And in the previous podcast I was talking about, but she had so much clothing and it was all
Yeah.
$1. And I bought things I wouldn't have normally bought.
Right.
I went to an estate sale a couple of days ago, and I always look at the clothing because you just never know.
Yeah.
In there, and you don't know who's been there before you and what they want and all of that.
But cashmere is such a consistent, it's classic. It's a consistently good seller. It's not itchy like wool. People love cashmere.
A lot of people can only wear that.
Yes, I may have learned that from you because I think you have something. I don't know if it's one of your YouTube videos, but you have a presentation on cashmere.
Yeah, I've mentioned it a few times because my mother was allergic to a lot of wool.
Oh, yeah.
So she only wore cashmere. And I know that sounds like snobby and elitist, but she's allergic to a lot of things.
Yes.
But I learned about that at a young age and how soft and luxurious it is and all of that.
Yes.
And then I am allergic to rabbit hair. Like,
Oh,
I know in a thrift store when it's near me, and I don't ever touch it because it's just going to make me like being allergic to cats.
Yes.
Your eyes water and you sneeze and all that stuff.
Yes.
But what I was going to say about that estate sale a couple of days ago, they had clothing everywhere, all closets of the house. But the lady had cut out the labels of every single thing. No store label, no content label. So I started looking on one rack and I'm like, I know what this is, but there's no label to prove it.
Yeah.
And so I just left out of frustration. I looked a little bit around, but most of it was like TJ Maxx junk.
Yeah.
But I was like, darn it, these people who cut the labels out, I just want to strangle them. Because even if you're in a thrift store and you know it's cashmere, you just know it.
Yes.
Better not sell it unless it has that label, because then the buyer can say, how can you prove it? You can't prove it. I mean, you could put, we think it's cashmere.
Yeah.
A lot of those acrylic blends will fool you.
Oh, it's true.
Doesn't say, I just don't recommend doing it, but you just want to smack them like, don't cut the tags.
Please
out.
don't do that.
Yeah. So good point. Okay. You got anything else on your list?
Well, I would like to tell you about how I adjusted. This is not necessarily a sale, but it's how I adjusted during during COVID when we could not go thrifting because
Right.
thrift stores weren't open, I was thinking, what am I going to do for inventory? What am I
Mm-hmm.
going to do? And this was when we lived in Marquette County in the Upper Peninsula. And I just decided to send a group text to my church ladies,
Mm-hmm.
just saying, if you have anything that you would like to get out of your house, here I am. And then
Mm-hmm.
I gave them a list. I didn't just say, I'll take anything. I said, here is a list of things that, would be useful to me. And so I had some ladies that took me up on it, and they were a huge help to me. I was able to get some really neat vintage things. One of my friends, and I actually did give her some money for it. She is a collector, and she's super frugal. She's a Finlander. She's Finnish. She's very frugal.
Okay.
There's a lot of Finnish people in the UP. She had about 200 or more pinback buttons, collectible ones, like, smiley face buttons, like
Right.
in the 70s. And so she gave me a bucket of those. She gave me a 1970s groovy font, groovy design poster. She gave me an old MASH television show poster. She just had some really special things that she gave to me, and that I was able to sell and really make very good money off of. I split the collectible pinbacks into, different lots of things that were alike. I didn't sell them all individually or anything like that. And the 70s poster went to somebody in England. It was a really neat poster. Another lady in the church gave me really old, like, I wonder if some of them are from the 1940s, maybe, old church Sunday school flannel graph stories that sold, like really old ones.
What are they called?
Flannel graph stories, like you have a board in a Sunday school class, and it's flannel. So
Mm-hmm.
that the cutout figures have flocking on the back, and
Okay.
like they'll stick to it. So it's called
Okay.
flannel graph stories. But
Okay.
she had the most unusual collection of that and other stories that did well selling for me. Somebody one Sunday morning after church or before church said, "Hey, Julie, here you go." It was her grandma's jewelry box, with the family had already taken out what they wanted, but there was like some Navajo jewelry in there, silver jewelry, an opal bracelet and things. And so that was kind of how I had to adjust during COVID in getting inventory. I'm sure that our fellow sellers could have lots of stories on how they survived, through
Mm-hmm.
that. But that was just an interesting way. You just have to adjust sometimes
Yeah, and you
when you're getting
actively
inventory.
reached out thinking of ways to get stuff to sell. Um,
Yes.
and I love that because people were cleaning out anyway. And it was either going to get thrown out or donated. And if the thrift stores were closed, then who knows when it would
Yes.
be put on the floor for sale. Um, Thrift stores in
That's when the face
yeah, they never closed. I
they
I
did.
went and I was like, I wore a hat and a mask because I didn't want to run into
Yeah.
anybody who knew me going, how
Yeah.
dare you be out here during this time, in these,
Yeah.
but the stores were open. So
Yeah.
I just kind of went incognito. I think I ran into
Yeah.
one
Good for you.
and I'm like, don't tell anybody because nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew if that was
Yeah.
okay. But I'm like, they're open and everyone's cleaning out,
Exactly.
donating. So I'm going for it.
Good for you. Yes.
I never got COVID. I never got it. And
Wow.
going in the filthiest places People are like, oh, it's because you work at home and you're not around people. And I'm like, yeah, but when I go out, I'm going to the filthiest places on earth
Yes.
that with people's personal items. So you would think I'd be the first one to catch it.
Right, right. A lot of people
Anyway,
did like the Facebook. That's when porch pickup became a big thing when you sell
right,
on Facebook. Like that was another way that sellers had to adjust because in Michigan, they shut the thrift stores down. So
right.
it was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Nobody knew what to do, and every state was different.
yeah,
And we just had to keep going,
yeah,
somehow keep going. And so, yeah, Facebook Marketplace was a thing because everybody was cleaning out. They're like, well, if the thrift store is not open to take my donation, what do I do with it? Because everybody was
yes,
just trying to keep busy cleaning out their closets
yes,
and stuff.
yes,
That
exactly.
was really smart. Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay, are we out of stuff to talk about?
Let me see here. I have a list. Well, I
Well,
have.
let me ask you something, and this will be spontaneous.
All right,
Where do you get your items to sell? Because you've mentioned several different ways.
right. Um, I do like thrift stores. I don't like their prices a lot of times. So, we have a St. Vinny's around here that does a color of the week. And if it's a piece of clothing, the color of the week, that item is $1. So
Mhm.
that's a nice option. But you kind of just have to learn to outsmart them and look for maybe the 50% off tags or something that's special enough that you're going to make enough return on your investment. So I do frequent thrift stores in this area. I go to the bins sometimes, not all the time. Auctions are a good place to get inventory if you can buy things if you can buy a lot, like a box lot. But if you're there for collectibles, and so are the people that own the antique stores, and you want to be able to make enough profit, you're not going to win the bidding, and it's not going to be worth your while. So at auctions, the box lots are probably your best bet
Mhm.
is if you want to keep your costs low. I do like estate sales. I like estate sales that are run by families. Your estate sale podcast I loved that podcast. That was so good.
That
I
was
love
very
family.
helpful.
Yes. Family run estate sales. I prefer to when a company runs them because their prices are just much better. I do stop if my husband has a good eye for this. And if we're driving and we see stuff out in somebody's yard, we stop and look at it. You can find some things that way, either for yourself or to sell.
Mhm.
My mother has given me many things to sell. My mom is just the prettiest lady and she's got great style. And so she gave me her one piece zip up ski outfit that was white with turquoise stripes. It was Obermeyer, really nice from like the 1990s with a really cool, like white cap to go with it. Cause she's my mom. So she's like, here, honey, why don't you sell this?
Right.
She's so good to me. And so, friends and family sometimes give me things to sell as well. So that's where I get things. Probably most of your listeners would say the same things I just said, but
Mhm.
yeah, sometimes you have to get creative though.
Well, and you have to keep pushing yourself out of your comfort zone
Yes.
because things are always changing. And
Right.
I think what stops people from trying an estate sale or selling jewelry or whatever is it's new and it's overwhelming and you don't know what to do. Thrift stores are getting smarter, marking
Yes.
things up. You got to learn how to work those discounts.
Yes.
There's one I
Senior
go
day. Go on senior day.
Yeah, that and there's one I go to that's a church-based organization. They have, I think, 8 locations in South Carolina, but they have the punch card. So every $10 you get a punch, and then when your card's full, you get 50% off one item. So
Yes.
I hoard those, and
Yeah.
I'm always looking in the counter, like behind the glass case, because that coupon is good for anything in the store.
Wow.
I want to use
Anything.
it on the
Wow.
most expensive thing I can find. I
Yeah.
had a watch in there one time. I think it was like Balm Mercier. It was some fancy brand. They had it priced used at $300.
Oh, wow.
So I'm thinking, oh, I could get 150 off that. Let me see what I could sell. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Because that was a little much for me, but
Yes.
you got to learn how to work the discounts, stack the discounts, because we just have to stay 2 steps ahead of what the thrift stores are doing. And they don't know everything. I know I say that all the time, but the people putting stuff out on the floor that work there, they're hourly employees. They're not really invested in making as much money for the store as possible, unless it's like a boutique or a privately owned
Right.
thing. They're just there to do their job. So they miss things all the time. You just have to be a really focused hunter gatherer to
Exactly.
find it. So, I do feel when people are like, oh, my thrift store, the prices are too high, there's never anything good. That's when you have to pivot. You got
Yes.
to do something different. And
Yes.
either the way you're shopping there or go different places or, figure out something else because reselling is as old as mankind,
Yeah.
Hey, I'll trade you this rock for your wife, whatever.
Right. Right.
So it's not a new thing. It's just how we do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also, when you were talking about church thrift stores, it jogged my mind to think of, I love, if I could pick one kind of yard sale, if you want to call it that, to go to, it would be a church sale.
Yes.
When a church gets together in their gymnasium or their big area and they put stuff in, the prices are usually for a lot of things going to be at a good price, and you can find some good things, for like $1 or $3. And so that is one of my favorite places to source, is at church sales.
I love those too. And a couple of benefits of a church sale is maybe they only do it once a year. So
Yeah.
the people pricing aren't really that knowledgeable. It's the ladies that volunteer with the church or whatever, and they're helping with this project and they're just sticking price tags on stuff. And usually it's just one morning. It's like 8 to 1. And they've spent months getting all this ready and maybe the whole week setting it up. And then they don't want to deal with the stuff. They want it
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
So like near the end, they might do, the last hour is fill
A bag sale. Yeah.
$5 or whatever. And the more you buy, the more they're willing to negotiate. But it's because there's a sense of urgency to get rid of this stuff.
Yeah.
Thrift stores don't have that sense of urgency. They just kind of put stuff out every day and some things sell and then they put some more stuff out. But a church sale and an estate sale is like, we need this gone, much of it as possible gone, so that we don't have to deal with it.
Yes.
Yes. So
Exactly.
I'm always with those too.
So I know that you mentioned you're doing kind of like buyouts, right?
Yes.
How's that going for you?
Well, it's not so much a buyout.
Okay.
It's called cash for stuff.
Okay.
And
Because you don't go in and buy everything. You just
No.
kind of cherry pick.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I have these magnets for my car. I've been putting ads or posting it on like local Facebook buy and sell groups. Or if I see somebody that's like, hey, we're downsizing, we're selling this, I'll contact them and tell them what I do. But my vision for this is like what a lot of other people do, is just getting in their home, seeing what else they have, making a pile, and then making them an offer.
Yes.
And I did that with a lady with a bunch of craft supplies, and her mother-in-law she called her a craft hoarder, and she had so much stuff.
Oh
And
my.
I just made a pile and said, I'll give you $100 for all of that. And I've sold some of it.
Good.
It's 900 skeins of the DMC floss. It was quilt tops and all kinds of sewing notions, like a huge box of, I've already made my money back plus some.
Good.
that's what I want to do. I'm not so interested in like people who post things one by one on Facebook Marketplace, because they're always asking more than I'm going to pay.
Yeah.
But if you can find somebody who's like, oh, I want to get rid of a lot of stuff, or I've inherited this storage unit or whatever, like my eyes light up. Okay, yeah, I want to check that out. So,
Yeah.
I'm not going in there with thousands of dollars to give them. It's just, can I take some of this off their hands?
Yes. Okay.
So, yeah, that's working pretty well.
Good.
Yeah, and I park my car. I live right next to a grocery store, a very busy grocery store. So
Perfect. So you strategically park your car.
I go over there, park my car, like either in one of the front spaces where people will see it as they walk out, or
So
next
smart.
to the cart return thing. So, you got people walking over there all day, so they'll see it. So I really think about, and then I just walk home and I go back before dark. It's a 4-minute walk. And so it's like my moving billboard.
Oh, you drive it over there and you leave it there.
Yes,
and you go,
yes. I leave it. Yeah. And then I walk home and then I walk back to get it. And I even
great.
asked the manager one day, I was like, hey, your store is really busy. How many customers do you think you have a day? And he was like, oh, at least 5,000 a day.
Oh my.
Like, okay, that's perfect. So
It is.
I'm just trying to leverage what I've got and use my little moving billboard, and people call me all the time.
Wow.
A lot of times it's nothing I'm interested in. And like, I don't want to buy your bass boat. I don't want to buy your guns. I have to talk to them and figure out what they have. But it's
Yes.
kissing a lot of frogs, but you finally get to the people that have stuff you want.
Yes.
So anyway, well, it looks like we're about out of time. Okay, well, we have been going almost an hour, and you chose the question about a favorite podcast.
Yes. Well, of course, eBay the Right Way. I'll say that one.
The one you're on right now.
Yeah. No, it's just fun to hear other sellers' stories, and you get to like pick their brain. I mean, you're picking their brain for us, and then we get to hear it. And I love the new format where like with the jewelry sellers that you did and the estate sellers, everybody just piping in and giving their tips. I love that. I also sometimes listen to the Pure Hustle podcast. It's 2
Mhm.
men. They're the thing I like about them is they're very positive.
Mhm.
They're very gracious, and I have enjoyed that one. Scavenger Life was one of the first ones I listened to. It's no
Yes.
longer on anymore. I learned a lot from Jay and Ryan.
Yes, I did enjoy theirs, and they were
Yes.
boy, they were consistent every single
They
week
were.
for, I don't know, like 5 years or something.
They had so many episodes, so many.
Yes.
And then just yesterday, I just learned about a new podcast that I'm going to start listening to yesterday when I was doing some of the online eBay open sessions.
Mhm.
I'm going to start listening to one called the Selling on eBay Radio Show. Are you familiar with that one?
Who hosts that one?
Oh boy, I don't know. It's a man and a woman, and I don't know their names. The man is from the UK. He has
Okay.
a British accent, but it's called the Selling on eBay Radio Show. That's just one I discovered yesterday that I'm going to listen to. But I also follow a lot of Instagram sellers and watch their Insta stories. And I would just encourage my fellow eBay sellers to just never stop educating yourself. Even if, like, I don't consider myself a jewelry expert or a handbag expert, but I think it's important for us to have a general knowledge of most categories, because if you know something is special, you will know to pick it up. You don't have to be an expert, but if you know that one electronic is a consistent seller, you can at least pick that up.
Right.
So never stop educating yourself and getting better at what you do. And don't think, there's no way to know everything.
Oh, I know. And you mentioned the BOLO book, and that's my vision is, some things in there I could say a lot more. I could go on and on about, but it's like, I want to give you one thing.
Yes.
Like, a Bose radio or an LL Bean vintage boat tote, or, I could have a whole book on tote bags, and it's just, it's condensing the information enough to where enough of them have sold, according to Terapeak. People are finding them and they're selling, and they're unique looking enough to where you're going to remember it, like the hidden Mickey bears, or I know I talk about the giant Simba Lion King plush thing. I feel like if I say it enough, it's gonna drop.
It's gonna happen.
kind of like the man I'm looking for, who's a brain surgeon and underwear model. Like, he's gonna show up. So anyway, I hear what you're saying on that. You want to know, it's like jack of all trades but master of none kind of thing. You know a lot about a lot of different things, but you're not going really too deep with any one thing, unless that's just what you want to do, unless you just want to sell only jewelry, or hey, that's great. But I call it skimming. So you go into the thrift store,
I like that term.
kind of skim the surface, like, okay, I'm looking for cashmere. I'm looking for these handbags that aren't faked. I'm looking for these kinds of shoes that sell for a lot, but there's not a lot of them on eBay. It's not a saturated market, on and on. So you get your things that you look for, so you can just kind of skim the surface, get enough stuff to go home and put it up for sale, and then do it again.
Yes.
Okay, well, it was so nice to finally meet you after all these years.
Yes.
I appreciate you taking the time to come on and share your experience, and
you're welcome.
Enjoy your winter.
Okay. I hope you get snow in South Carolina this year.
One day is good. That's all we need.
Okay, one day.
Okay, thanks, Julie.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Julie, for coming on the podcast and sharing your tips and wisdom. We will look for your sales on the Facebook group. On to today's trivia question. How many users are on eBay as of second quarter 2023? Here is some time to think about it. I wanted to throw this out there because someone contacted me the other day to buy some of their stuff in their storage unit. And he said he heard that eBay is in decline based on a friend's experience, yada, yada, yada. So this is one of those things like the telephone game where you say something and then by the time it gets to the eighth person, it's completely different than what was originally said. And I always roll my eyes when I hear something like this. I heard, or someone said, or somebody on Facebook posted, blah, blah, blah. I always roll my eyes because it's gossip and it's not usually based on fact. And one person's experience is not everyone's experience. So here are some facts and my reaction to those facts. According to Forbes, the number of eBay users is down from 138 million in 2022 to 129 million in 2023. But don't panic. Let's examine this for a second. According to fact, and you can Google this and look at all kinds of charts and graphs and get information from reputable sites, the number of eBay users has been declining since 2018. And I think it's because there are other reselling sites that are attracting buyers and sellers, such as Poshmark, Whatnot, Instagram, etc. I think it's about what you are selling. If you have unique items with little competition, buyers will find them regardless of where they are. And let's think about who is leaving eBay. Is it buyers or sellers or both? If sellers are leaving, well, that works in our favor. Fewer sellers to compete with. Bye-bye. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Now, compare this situation with a mega company like McDonald's. Back in the day, McDonald's had a huge market share because they pretty much invented the fast food business model. As time went by, burger competitors popped up: Burger King, Wendy's, Hardee's, Whataburger, Jack in the Box, Crystal, and then the fried chicken places, and then the pizza restaurants with delivery and takeout, and Taco Bell, and so on and so forth. McDonald's still holds the largest market share in the fast food world. That is what I think is happening with eBay. They were the pioneers of e-commerce, but now, over 25 years later, consumers have many more options. So when you hear that eBay is declining, keep that in mind. Look at the big picture over time. And of course, be careful who you listen to. Look at the facts for yourself and decide how you feel about it. So that's just some food for thought. Couldn't resist that. Okay, thanks for spending the last hour with us. I hope you enjoyed our eBay chat. Next week, my guest is Valerie, whose husband is also a pastor. They are raising 3 kids, and she is running her reselling business. In addition to eBay, she sells on Whatnot, so she will give us a summary of how that site works and her business there. Have a great week on eBay, everybody. Bye for now.